Thank you for joining us on our journey of 1,000 pages. I am one of your hosts, Christina.
Oh, I thought you were going to introduce me. That's fine. I'm Anty, and this month we have stepped into our time machine and ventured back into the world of classics. All the way back to a date that I don't know because I don't care that much, and we are reading the Odyssey. This is a story of a man lost at sea, trying desperately to reach his way home.
There will be spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, guys, it's the Odyssey. You should know something about it. If you haven't, it's 2,500 years old is what you said.
Yes, it was written in the Bronze Age, somewhere between the 8th and 7th century BC, which is, roughly like 2,500 years ago.
That's old.
Yeah, and they don't know exactly when.
Sure.
Obviously, they've tried to pin that down through various historical means that I will not get into. And what they've narrowed it down to is that 100-year window.
That's a bit of a that's a big window.
Yes, but they also don't know who wrote it for sure.
Homer.
That is what we've been told.
Sure.
It's really interesting. In the edition that we read in the introduction, there is an argument going on apparently for a while about who was Homer, and was Homer one person, or was he a combination of people? I guess, again, for people who study this sort of thing, the Odyssey is a story that was transmitted originally like orally, and there's a lot of hallmarks of that, like a lot of repetitive phrases that are hallmark of oral storytelling, but it's way too long. So there's people who are like, oh, was it a poet and a scribe who teamed up? Was it a whole bunch of folklore that was collected by a team of scribes? Yeah, it's still up for debate. Like, it's 2,500 years ago. I don't know that we're ever going to find an answer to that.
No, we won't, and that's okay.
But now you know. There is an argument out there.
Also, to specify, we are reading a translation by Emily
Wilson. Emily Wilson in 2018.
Yes, that is the translation we have chosen.
Yes, for a variety of reasons.
Sure.
It was one of the most recent translations.
Right.
And I selected it because I had heard specifically that her perspective changed some things in the story a little bit here and there, some of her word choices. Particularly, she was more sensitive to some of the female characters, and looking at the original Greek, like there's for instance, a section where some particular women have been, in most translations, have been referred to as sluts or whores, and she just translates it as according to the Greek, I guess. I don't know. She says that the Greek doesn't really have that derogatory of a term. It's just those female people. So that's why we picked this.
Sure.
That's all.
Yeah. And it was a translation, for sure.
But that's not what we're getting into first.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
What makes a classic
What makes a classic? Why do we consider some things classic and some things not?
I'm not going to lie. Anytime that this question comes up, the first thing that comes to mind is the Mark Twain quote, where he says something about how a classic is something that everybody wants to have read and nobody wants to read.
I think that is such a good definition of a classic. That is absolutely valid.
Because it's true, because I can think of so many classics. Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
I would love to have read that book. I have no desire to read it.
I think you should stop caring about reading classics. I enjoy a lot of classics, but there's a lot of classics I just don't give a crap about.
This is absolutely
Sense and
fair.
Sensibility, no desire.
That is a wonderful, wonderful story.
I
Thank
do
you.
not care to read it ever. Thank you. Most Charles Dickens. I own every single book Charles Dickens has written. They are on a bookshelf right next to us. I don't want to read them.
It's true. They are double stacked and they're in the back because neither of us really cares to read any more Dickens in our life.
We've done it. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you label classics then?
So I obviously was Googling because I like research.
Sure. You weirdo.
Look, it really comes down to the same things over and over. And I kind of agree with this. So you have longevity. Typically, classics are more than 50 years old. Some people will say if they're more than 100 years old.
Sure.
It's that they have stood the test of time. They're still relevant in some capacity. That's up for debate. They're still around and remembered. Mm-hmm. So there's that component. There's usually some literary merit. Like, for instance, with the Odyssey, it's kind of the first record we have of like an epic poem.
Sure.
So there's that. Then there's some kind of cultural impact that the book in question has had. I'm trying to think of a single example. Okay, Frankenstein.
Sure.
The mother of sci-fi.
Right.
Cultural impact, very large.
Yeah.
Then there's the historical influence.
Sure.
So something like the Odyssey, it's kind of the foundation of Western literature. Any kind of class you take will probably start there if it doesn't start earlier with the Epic of Gilgamesh or something like that.
And you can see things that have been influenced by the Odyssey clearly just throughout the rest of history with their stories. I mean, the hero's journey gets its start in the Odyssey, basically.
Yes. Last but not least would be universal themes. It ties into longevity in that there are universal themes that apply throughout history, throughout different times. The fact that I can go back and read Pride and Prejudice from the 1700s and get something out of that.
Right.
Which is to say me, not you.
Pride and Prejudice, I don't mind. I think the relationship between Mr. Darcy and, what's her name?
Elizabeth
Bennett. I do love it. That is the original enemies to lovers. Thank you. Okay.
I'm sure that was Austen's goal.
Listen. I'm here for it. Regardless.
Yes. I will say those are the normal checkpoints that I think of when I think of classics. When I was kind of exploring online, I came across a list by a guy named Italo Calvino, who is an Italian writer and journalist. I've heard his name. I don't know what he's famous for.
Sure.
That is beside the point. He makes the distinction in a book that he wrote called Why Read the Classics. He makes a distinction between classics and required reading. So he considers things like Animal Farm or 1984 to be required reading, but they're not necessarily a classic.
Sure.
And I guess over the course of this book, he lays out 14 points of what makes a classic, and it's really interesting because some of them line up with the things we've discussed.
You don't plan on reading all of those,
no,
right? Okay, thank you.
I was literally just going to read a couple that I thought really challenged me to think about classics in a different way. For instance, number 1 is the classics are those books about which you usually hear people saying, I'm rereading, never I'm reading. How about number 6? A classic is a book which has never exhausted all it has to say to its readers.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that one, but I get the point.
And let's see. I'll give you one more. I do think all of these are really interesting, and you should look it up. I'm going to say his name again, Italo Calvino. Number 13, a classic is a work which relegates the noise of the present to a background hum, which at the same time the classics cannot exist without.
I really like that point, but that exact feeling is the reason I love reading so much. Is like the amount of times I've been reading a book and the rest of the world just disappears. Like that just makes a good book. I don't think that necessarily defines a classic.
Fair. Do you have anything else you want to say about classics?
No.
We've covered it, guys.
We've ran the course. You guys get it. The classics, they're a vibe. They're just a vibe.
Your Gen Z is showing.
Shut up. Listen, you're the old one here, okay?
Shh. We don't need to talk about that. I am the wise one. I think that's what you meant to say.
No. Okay, but do we want to hop into translation? Talking about this translation specifically?
And all that we love and hate about it. So, like I said, I'm the one that selected this translation. You've been saying you wanted to read the Odyssey for
reread it, but
for a while.
And I have a little regrets. Not gonna lie. But I'll get into one of the reasons why later. We're gonna cover that later. But there is some of it that I will admit is my personal problems with this translation specifically.
So before we get into your problems, I would like to talk about some of her reasoning for why she made some of the stylistic choices that she did, whether we agree with them or not. First off, she wrote this edition in iambic pentameter, if I'm saying that correctly.
Iambic pentameter.
Thank you.
Iambic
which is
pentameter.
Classic in a lot of classic English works like Chaucer, Shakespeare, Milton. They're all written with that in mind.
Iambic pentameter.
Shush.
Okay.
Compare that to the original Greek of the Odyssey is in, and I apologize if I say this wrong, it is in dactylic hexameter.
Uh-huh.
which is a 6-beat line.
Okay. Sure.
So part of her reasoning was she wanted the text to be more familiar to English speakers. Iambic I don't know why I'm struggling with this word.
Pentameter?
Thank you. I'll just have you say it. I'll just point.
Yep.
And then
every
can
time you
say
point,
it.
I'm going to say pentameter.
Thank you. It's more familiar. You've read Shakespeare. You know the rhythm. I'm not going to lie. In this particular translation, once I got into reading the text, I was like, I don't feel the rhythm that you are speaking of, but that's cool.
Yep.
She also was working within the restrictions of a number of lines. Mm-hmm. So the Greek version has a specific number of lines, and she wanted her English translation to be exactly the same.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand that.
I don't know if that...
I can't say that I really noticed the rhythm either. Mm-hmm. And part of that, I will admit, is both of us... Like, neither of us have a huge amount of experience with poetry and, like, Shakespeare.
You say that. I've read probably at least 5 Shakespeare plays.
Sure.
I've read John Milton.
Okay.
I've read
maybe it's just
probably a few Chaucer stories somewhere.
It's just me. I don't read poetry or Shakespeare.
I didn't say I liked it. And it's been like high school.
Right.
So it's been a hot moment.
Sure.
So another thing that we had talked about was specifically the type of language that she used.
Sure.
I know that was one of your complaints.
Yes. Well, okay. So she uses a very modern voice throughout for the narrator and throughout this book, which, in my humble opinion, ruins the book. Like, it is archaic. You need that flowery language, but she is speaking like someone I would hear today on the street. Like, she's not using the language of the time to make it flowery and make it poetic. It's just words, which I think takes away from the narrative, because the voice of the narrative influences it so much.
Yes.
Like, we see that in fantasy, we see it in sci-fi, we see it in romance, we see it in every other genre, and we do see it in classics.
Yes.
But she just takes it and removes it. And apparently she has reason for it.
I do want to give her a chance to speak for herself, since we have a translator's note at the beginning. I'm not saying I disagree with you, by the way, because I also think there was something lacking in this, but I do think she has a reason.
Sure.
Whether we agree with it or not. I'm going to skip around just a little bit in the translator's note and kind of collapse some paragraphs here.
Sure.
So, some guy... His name's Matthew Arnold, but it says famously claimed, and I have no idea who he is. So some guy claimed that translators of Homer must convey 4 supposedly essential qualities of Homeric style.
Okay.
Rapidity, directness of expression, plainness of thought, and nobility. I have worked hard to capture Homer's rapidity and to achieve, for the most part, a stylistic simplicity that I hope echoes the original. But I am also aware that Homeric style is often redundant and very often repetitious, not always simple or direct. Homer's style is also not noble in the sense that we may imagine from the later history of epic. The language is not colloquial, and it avoids obscenity. But it is not bombastic or grandiloquent. The notion that Homeric epic must be rendered in grand, ornate, rhetorically elevated English has been with us since the time of Alexander Pope. It is past time, I believe, to reject this assumption. Homer's language is markedly rhythmical, but it is not difficult or ostentatious. The Odyssey relies on coordinated, not subordinated syntax. She has examples of what that means. Just ignore that.
I will.
I have frequently aimed for a certain level of simplicity, often using fairly ordinary, straightforward, and readable English. In using language that is largely simple, my goal is not to make Homer sound primitive, but to mark the fact that stylistic pomposity is entirely un-Homeric. So that's her justification, guys.
But it makes it so boring.
I will also note it's not in the translator's note, but someone else that was commenting on the text noted that she doesn't use English words that have French or Latin roots almost at all.
Really?
She is relying almost entirely on English words that have Germanic roots.
Why? Okay, because it is honestly my biggest problem with this. I do not like this translation of the Odyssey, and my biggest problem is that it is boring. I think the statement I made when we were talking about it briefly before the episode was that it is translated by a scholar, not by a storyteller. And it is very apparent that this is not translated by somebody who has a joy for the story, who has a passion for the story of the Odyssey. It's written by somebody who it seems like just wants to prove that they can translate the Odyssey and say, look at me, I did a translation.
I would love, if this is helpful for our audience, there's an opening paragraph. And I think comparing a couple different translations might be helpful to illustrate what we're talking about.
For sure.
For people who haven't read the Odyssey recently.
Right.
So I have pulled up, this is a translation from, I believe, the early 1900s. It's unclear who translated this.
Sure.
Because there's like 4 different names listed. So I'm just going to say 1900, 1919, somewhere around then. And here's the opening paragraph. Tell me, O Muse, of the man of many devices who wandered full many ways after he sacked the sacred citadel of Troy. Many were the men whose cities he saw and whose mind he learned, aye, and many the woes he suffered in his heart upon the sea, seeking to win his own life and the return of his comrades. Yet even so he saved not his comrades, though he desired it sore, for through their own blind folly they perished. Fools who devoured the kine of Helios Hyperion, but he took from them the day of their returning. Of these things, goddess, daughter of Zeus, beginning where thou wilt, tell thou even unto us. So there's one version from real long ago.
Sure.
When I Googled what's the most popular translation,
Sure.
it's by Robert Fagles, who translated the Odyssey in the 1990s. And that same opening paragraph sounds like this. Sing to me of the man, Muse, the man of twists and turns, driven time and again off course, once he had plundered the hollowed heights of Troy. Many cities of men he saw and learned their minds. Many pains he suffered, heartsick on the open sea, fighting to save his life and bring his comrades home. But he could not save them from disaster, hard as he strove. The recklessness of their own ways destroyed them all, the blind fools. They devoured the cattle of the sun, and the sun god blotted out the rest of their return. Launch out on his story. Muse, daughter of Zeus, start from where you will. Sing for our time too.
And what is hers?
And then we've got hers,
Ooh.
which starts like this. Tell me about a complicated man. Muse, tell me how he wandered and was lost, when he had wrecked the holy town of Troy, and where he went and who he met, the pain he suffered on the sea, and how he worked to save his life and bring his men back home. He failed, and for their mistakes, they died. They ate the sun god's cattle, and the god kept them from home. Now, goddess, child of Zeus, tell the old story for our modern times. Find the beginning.
Like, there is a noticeable difference in the voice. The other two are using words to make it seem more fantastical and more like an actual story and something that you want to listen to. Whereas her translation is bland.
I've never been a huge fan of the Odyssey. Like, it's fine. But I was shocked. I was shocked by how bored I was. Until, like, the final 4, 5, 6 books, which is when I think it shifts from reflecting back on things that have happened, like Odysseus telling his story, or Telemachus telling a story, or whoever telling a story, looking back on what happened, and it shifts into this is happening right now. This is the present moment. And I think that helped. That shift into the present moment helped make it more interesting and more immediate.
Gotcha.
But I still didn't really like it.
Is it this translation specifically, or is it still just the Odyssey as a story itself?
It's difficult for me to say because it's been so long since I read the Odyssey. I don't think her translation is irrelevant to my dislike.
Gotcha.
I think that does play a part in it.
Sure.
Just reading the first initial paragraph, I would say the one that engaged me the most is the one from the 1990s.
I can agree with that.
The middle one. I thought that did a good job of the balance. Like, if you read further into the one from the early 1900s, there's lots of these and thous, and that gets confusing and feels too archaic.
Right. I mean, it's like when you read a fantasy book, you want the flowery language. You want,
Yes.
the voice of the narrator influences how you feel about the world so much. And if your narrator is boring, your story is boring.
Can I add one more thing that I thought was really a really interesting point that she made that I'd love for us to talk about? She thinks we need to rethink the terms in which we talk about translation. She says, "My translation is, like all translations, an entirely different text from the original poem. Translation always, necessarily, involves interpretation. There is no such thing as a translation that provides anything like a transparent window through which a reader can see the original. The act of translating does rely on interpretation."
Yeah.
Bumblebee is not a direct translation in every language. Like, sometimes you have to make some choices, especially when you get into metaphors and idioms and all of that.
Right, and I think because of that, that makes it even more her fault that it's boring. Like, she actively chose for this to be boring.
There is no changing your mind.
There's not. Because it infuriates me. Because I love the Odyssey. But, and to be fair, and also to transition into our next topic, part of the reason I don't like this is because I think that reading the Odyssey is one of the worst forms to intake the Odyssey. It was not designed to be read. It was designed to be listened to. You should hear a dramatized version of it, an audiobook. You should watch a play version of it, watch a TV or a movie version of it. All of those lend themselves to the story much better because it is a fairly simple story. So it's not entirely her fault that it's boring, but it is. Part of it is.
I do agree, because I would place this in the same category as Shakespeare, which if you try to just read a Shakespeare play through silently.
Oh God, it's horrible.
It's the worst thing ever. And I recognized that very early in reading this, and I really tried to, I was like, okay, let's try reading it out loud, because I'm all by myself. Just like I would do if I was reading a Shakespeare play, to help me get into it and help me hear the rhythm of it and embrace the language. Yeah, it didn't help.
No, because then you just sound like a Gen Z person who translated the Odyssey. Like, not necessarily that bad, but this translation does not lend itself well to being read aloud either. So, should we judge a classic when it's something like this, like considering this or Shakespeare, should we judge them by the written text, or should we judge them by a performance of some sort?
Ooh.
I mean, that was a question. That was a direct question.
It'd be real great if I'd ever thought of this. I think it's difficult because you can't erase the literary element. It is a written text.
Sure.
The same way that a Shakespeare play is a written text that comes alive and often has interesting interpretations based on the performance or the actors. I think about how many times I have read Much Ado About Nothing. I have seen multiple movies of Much Ado About Nothing. I have seen at least one live performance of Much Ado About Nothing.
You've seen two. We've seen two together.
Okay, that's very true. I forgot about that. There were two versions of Much Ado About Nothing that we have seen in London.
Together.
And I think each one, it's the same exact text, but the actors, the set, the body language, all of it can lend different emphasis, different
100%
quirks. You can think something, suddenly this line is funny and it's never been funny before.
Right.
Stuff like that. They go hand in hand. Can I say both?
Sure.
The text,
I'm not going to stop you.
The text and the performance of said text are vital when you have anything like a poem, a play.
Sure.
It's both.
That's fair.
Watch me get out of that question.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you judge it by whichever one is better. Just yeah.
It's always the play, though.
No, there are books that are better as books than like you've seen them. We've seen books that there are so many books that are better as books than as movies.
Oh, okay.
Because like
I think that's different. Just
okay, then a play version of Ender's Game would suck. Okay,
that's true. I think in my head I place poems and plays, like if that's their original form.
Mm-hmm.
I place those in a different category because they are intended to be performed.
Sure.
In some capacity.
Right.
Or dramatized in some capacity versus a novel is a novel. So, yeah, typically the movie isn't as great because you got to cut stuff out. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head.
Sure. I love that it makes sense in your head.
That's great. Cool.
I still lean on judge by whichever one is better, and it's not always the spoken version. I think limiting like poetic storytelling or poetry and storytelling poetry. What an epic. Let's just take an epic
poem.
Sure.
Like the Iliad.
A poem that tells
Odyssey.
a story.
Yes.
Versus prose. I am a firm believer that the only difference between prose and poetry is prose. With prose, the line ends when you reach the end of the page. With poetry, you choose where the line ends. Otherwise, they are the same. And they should be treated the same. Your language should still flow with prose.
Yes.
The same way it should with poetry. And I think some of the best books are those that fully understand that.
That is fair. My favorite authors are the ones that seem like they're playing with the English language in a way that is, it's not that every sentence needs to be a work of art or something that is just mind blowing. Like no one's ever put the words together in this way before. But I do highly value the authors that have unique turns of phrase. And like I said, like look like they're playing with English.
Yeah.
Like they know it very well. They have a wide vocabulary and they're having fun with it instead of writing things in the expected way. Don't ask me for an example.
I was about to. I can see it on your face. You didn't have one. But I think there's still rhythm with prose too.
Yes, absolutely.
And I still think there are times like, I don't know. I even think there's some poems that I would rather just read than listen to somebody read aloud.
I cannot think of a single example of that.
In my opinion, that's usually shorter ones. Like I'd rather just read it. Like Ozymandias, I'd rather just read Ozymandias than listen to somebody recite it.
Never. To begin with, I am not a poetry person. I really, really struggle with poetry.
Sure.
A lot of it feels completely pointless and flat to me, and that is a me problem probably.
It is.
But if I listen to somebody read a poem, like I think about years ago, there's a variety of British actors that have done a lot of poetry readings that are available on YouTube. People like Tom Hiddleston or Helena Bonham Carter are two that come to mind. Probably Benedict Cumberbatch, David Tennant.
That sounds like something they would do.
Yes. Okay. Obviously, the accent plays into it.
100%.
But for some reason, there is something about listening to someone read a poem who really enjoys it and understands it and knows when to pause and how to convey it. And part of that is that they're actors.
Sure.
With probably a very literary education. But it completely changes poems for me to have someone with that level of understanding sharing it. And I wish all poems could be that way.
Too bad.
I know.
Some of them suck.
Not all poems are created equal, but you know what I'm saying. Like, that's just, and I know that's a me problem. Whatever.
How dare we express our opinions?
Well, I wish I could be like that cool person who has the little book of poetry and is like, oh, and this one spoke to me. No. I mean, I've tried so many times to be that person.
I get it, because there are some poems that speak to me. But again, I typically think of the lines and the excerpts that speak to me. It's usually prose. I am more impressed with prose that flows well and is very easy to read and rhythmic to read versus poetry. With prose, it is you are specifically choosing the words to create this rhythm.
Yes.
And while, yes, that is a part of poetry, it is not only just the words, but the punctuations as well. That influences the rhythm you read prose. Whereas with poetry, it is entirely dictated by you just being like, by the author saying, oh, there's a pause here, break the line. Period. And like, I know there's more to it than that.
And they have
there's
different.
rules and I understand that. But as somebody who's not a huge fan of poetry, that is how it seems to me.
Yes. A lot of times it feels very arbitrary. I think that's part of my issue is when I'm reading it to myself in my head, the line breaks and pauses feel very arbitrary, and I can't hear any sort of rhythm or emphasis unless it's, Longfellow.
Right.
Or something like that. Like, I used to say that one of my favorite poems, what's his famous one?
Longfellow?
Yeah. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
I'm a poet and I didn't know him because my toes don't show it because they aren't Longfellows.
No, my favorite poem of all time is several pages long, and it's called The Chaos.
Oh, who's it by?
Some French guy that I don't know, that he was motivated. He was motivated to write this poem because he was learning to speak English, and he was mad about it. And it is about 5 glorious pages of him pointing out all of the inconsistencies within the English language, and him going, and it rhymes and it's beautiful and it has a wonderful rhythm to it, and you can feel his anger where he's just like, these words are spelled the same, but they don't sound the same. Why? It's the chaos of the English language.
It's wonderful. English is perfect.
Yeah. Look it up. French poem. Well, it's not in French, but French guy, mad, 1800s, probably. The Chaos. Great poem.
Great. And I think part of my problems with poetry, I think that also lends me to not necessarily liking the Odyssey as much. Again, reading it, I just personally, I fully believe that it is in a better medium, whether it's TV, movie, audiobook, play, like all of those are ways I would rather enjoy the Odyssey than by reading it.
Coincidentally, we have a DVD sitting out there that we have not watched yet. The Odyssey is wildly popular still. There is the version that we have right now out there that we have not watched is called The Return. It came out very recently. Stars Ralph Fiennes.
Yes,
Ralph. Voldemort guy.
Voldemort.
And I think Juliette Binoche, if you've seen Chocolat, which is an amazing movie, is her.
Oh, he's in The King's Man.
Okay, yes, but it's called The Return.
Wasn't he in Pirates too? No, he wasn't in Pirates.
Tangent.
It was the other 2 British guys.
Anyway.
Sorry.
Also, Christopher Nolan is making a version of The Odyssey with an all-star cast coming up soon. But I'm just pointing out that I think other people agree with you that The Odyssey is both a well-loved foundational story for Western culture, because it is clearly being remade time and again, even today.
I do think part of that is because I know personally me growing up, and one of the reasons I loved the Odyssey so much as a kid and why I think it was so foundational towards the characters that I like and the stories I kind of lean towards is that Odysseus, almost the entire book, is presented as this very clever character. He solves his problems not by being, Hercules and being the strongest and wrestling the river god to bend the river or to clean out whatever it is he does. He creates the trap for the Trojans. He creates the horse. He calls himself nobody to the Cyclops and pokes the Cyclops' eye out and all that. And even with the sirens, and I love that scene with him and the sirens where he says, I need to know what it sounds like. And I'm just, the entire time I'm like, I get it. I completely understand. I want to know what the siren sounded like. I want to know.
This makes absolute sense because you tend to gravitate towards, very clever characters. Like I think of other stories that you've introduced me to, like The Name of the Wind. Like
read it.
Kvothe is what you said. He is a character that relies on his cleverness. Couple others that I would say have the same pattern. I don't know if this is just common in the fantasy I'm reading or what, but Lies of Locke Lamora. Lamora is a clever protagonist. Same thing with the Night Angel trilogy.
Same thing with Ender's Game, which is one of my favorite books. Like, I lean towards it.
Yes.
And, partially because I was a scrawny little nerdy kid who had not an athletic bone in his body. So I like the ones that I could be like, see, I'm smart. I may not be the biggest or the strongest, but me brain Got that ranked libre. Okay, I'm sorry.
So all of this is really interesting because I know something that we were kind of arguing about earlier. I brought up the fact that, just as like an aside, I don't like Odysseus. And you were a little offended because you love the character and you have such fond memories of the character.
And I do want to say, like, I just want to preface this with going back and rereading this, and I will at this point say the disclaimer that I didn't like this book enough that I did not finish it because I was bored. I was so bored reading this.
Well, specifically, my original comment was that I found him to be manipulative. Yes.
So just a kind of disclaimer, like, I will admit, like, going through the Odyssey this time and actually, like, thinking about the Odyssey again and what I actually remember from the Odyssey, he's very old hero clever. Like, it's the kind of clever where it's like they come across the monster and the monster says, I'm going to hit you on the left side. So the hero goes to the right side. It's that kind of, it's not exactly super clever, but again, it's very archaic, very in that fantastical hero kind of vibe.
Yes. And once I had more time to reflect on it, my reason I realized that I was struggling with Odysseus as a character was because, as we've said, this story is kind of the hero's journey archetype, and he is placed as the hero.
Capital T, capital H, hero, kind of.
Yes, and I think my perception of a hero has more noble behavior. Not that Odysseus doesn't have nobility in certain moments, but I questioned a lot of his actions as he's retelling these stories, where some of them I felt his reaction, while justified, was overly violent. For instance, oh, my men are captured, so I need to conquer this monster. Okay, but once my men are free, I'm going to go above and beyond, make sure that they're injured, or I'm going to taunt them, or I'm going to destroy something they love, or whatever.
Right.
That felt vindictive, like overly vindictive to me.
Sure.
Or, for instance, you have the epic love story of Odysseus and Penelope. But as he's recounting some of his adventures, there's the fact that he's been sleeping around as he goes along with several different ladies,
right,
mortal and otherwise. For me, from a modern perspective, that kind of undermines that love story, and it kind of undermines his character as the epic hero.
100%.
And I think that was a struggle for me only because he was presented as the hero.
Right.
And I'm picturing a classic Captain America or Superman kind of thing when you say the hero in that way.
Sure. And I'm sure a lot of that was influenced by the morals and ethics of the time.
Absolutely. And I totally recognize that.
And it's the same, like, if you do go back to, like, old Captain America and old Superman, listen, there's some problematic behavior.
Maybe when I say old, I should specify. I don't mean like original comics. I mean,
I'm just saying,
Chris Evans in the
okay.
first Avenger.
Yeah, old, like who everybody thinks of as Captain America.
Back when I loved Marvel, okay. Or Superman. I can't think of a really good version of Superman actually, but
Christopher Reeves.
Meh.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Again, going back to it this time, because it's been a while for me as well. And I still love the Odyssey. It's very influential on me, very influential on a lot of stories in general. And, and part of that is just I was a Greek mythology kid. I was one of those. I grew up, I took the National Mythology exam a couple of times. Don't judge me.
I am learning new things.
Hush. I really liked mythology. I still do. I love stories. Stories are one of my favorite things on the planet, and I will always love the Odyssey because of the influence it has had. But if we want to kind of give our final thoughts on the Odyssey, this specific version, I'm to be honest, I can't really give it more than 2 stars.
That's very fair.
It's bland, and that is one of the worst crimes I think a book can be, is boring.
I'm torn because, like I said, the Odyssey itself is not my favorite story, but it is a foundational, inspirational text for Western literature. So the story itself, I'd probably give 3 stars.
That's fair.
But I do agree with you. Not to pan another book, guys, but it's going to be 2 stars for me as well.
Again, want to specify if this is a book you like, absolutely. But also, we fully believe in accepting that the things you like aren't always the greatest.
Yes.
There are books I love that I love these books and I would rate them 2 stars.
I contend that The Mummy 1999 with Brendan Fraser is one of the best movies of all time. It is very close to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the best movie ever made? No.
Sure.
But it is my love.
But yeah, it is okay to appreciate bad art. This one is barely art.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's
that
a
was
bit
rude.
far.
That's rude.
Think about how long it took her to translate this.
I know, and congratulations. Fantastic that you wrote a book and got published and all of that. Don't write it like a scholar. Write it like a storyteller. It's a story.
You didn't read the translator's note where she talked all about how she's loved this story since she was 8 years old and...
Didn't feel like it.
Yeah, that's the Odyssey, guys.
Yep. Great. So, what hast thou consumed? This is the part of the show where we talk about things we've watched, read, listened to.
Would like to recommend.
Or maybe might want to warn you to stay away from. Don't know. We'll see. So, what hast thou consumed, Christina?
So, right now, I am in the midst of reading. Yeah, it still counts as reading if it's an audiobook.
We, here at Journey of 1,000 Pages, audiobooks count as reading.
So I am reading an audiobook that goes right along with this, actually. It is Mythos by Stephen Fry, which is the first book of his that's getting into Greek mythology. I think he has one of the Iliad and stuff as well. Ooh, so I'm really curious.
Sure.
I want to go on from here. But I'm listening to it because he has a beautiful voice.
He does.
As you know, if you've ever heard anything he has acted in or a clip from a talk show, anything, just look him up. He has a beautiful voice and an honestly delightful, very, very British sense of humor.
Yes.
And listening to him retell stories that are familiar and completely unfamiliar from Greek mythology is wonderful. So highly, highly recommend Mythos by Stephen Fry.
I've been meaning to start it and I probably never will, let's be honest here, until you pester me into doing it. But I am bringing a movie this month. A movie we both recently saw called Mickey 17 by director Bong Joon-ho, starring
Robert
Pattinson and other people. Mark Ruffalo's in it.
Stephen Yeun.
Oh, Stephen Yeun's in it, but yes, it
Toni
is...
Collette.
I forget. Yeah, Toni Collette. I always forget her name. She's great though. Giving fantastic performances. It is a science fiction movie following a guy named Mickey who has signed his life away on this expedition ship, basically this colony ship to another planet, as what is called an expendable. It is somebody who has agreed to let their genetic code be reprinted into a new body, basically.
And all his memories are saved and
uploaded into the new body. And he is the kind of lowest class of a worker. They use him for all the dangerous stuff because he can just die and come back. Mm-hmm. And he, like I said, has all of his memories. And the plot kind of kicks off when he is left for dead to be eaten by some bugs. And the bugs don't eat him. So he returns back to the ship and finds that they have already printed a new version of him. So it's about Mickey's number 17 and 18 figuring out their life together. It is pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It is, if you've seen Snowpiercer, it's got some similar vibes to that with Bong Joon-ho's kind of pretty standard political commentary for him.
Mm-hmm. It's a very dark, satirical comedy to the point that I was confused a few times on, is this supposed to be funny or is this supposed to be serious? It's both.
Yes. Robert Pattinson putting on another silly voice. Gotta love Robert Pattinson and his silly, silly voices.
He has range.
Is it range?
You just said he gave a wonderful performance.
He does, as both Mickey 17 and 18. But yeah, I will admit, there are parts of it that seem like a sad boy fantasy. It was based off of a book that was probably written by a sad boy. It's fine. I am vastly familiar with the themes. Don't ask why. Don't worry about it. That does it?
Yeah, that wraps up the What Hast Thou Consumed section of this podcast.
Yes.
Next month, what are we reading?
We are reading Altered Carbon by
Richard somebody.
Richard Morgan? Richard Morgan.
Yes.
Richard something Morgan.
Yes, we wanted to delve into science fiction,
Yes.
particularly a subgenre that we don't have a lot of experience with.
Yeah, a noir sci-fi mystery. It is
Cyberpunky.
cyberpunky about a mercenary who's basically given a new body. It is kind of a world where clones happen, and a man wants him to investigate his own death that has been ruled as suicide, and he says, "No, I was murdered."
So tune in next month.
Yes. Bad explanation of the book.
Tune in next month for a better explanation of the book and all of our thoughts, which will hopefully be more positive.
Whoa!